Welcome back everyone to what might be the longest yapping session on a Mario mobile game. This is the third and final part of the Mario Kart Tour review where I'll be saying pretty much everything else I've been wanting to say about this game. If you haven't watched the last two videos, then I don't know why you start at part 3, I think you should watch those two. But if everyone is all caught up, then I won't waste any more time. Let's start off by discussing Mario Kart Tour's third year in live service. The first tour of this year was the Autumn Tour, and I have mixed feelings. On one hand, it's autumn themed and I love to see it, and Tanuki Mario, my main in Mario Kart Deluxe, got added to the game. So of course I had to get him from the pipe and I didn't have much trouble doing so. Alongside Tanuki Mario was a new special item, the Super Leaf. It works a bit differently than it does in Mario Kart 7. Rather than serving both as defense and close-range offense, it instead has a tail swerve around your cart for a short time that will hit surrounding opponents and collect coins. Yeah, it's pretty much a worse boomerang flower, like in every way. Neat. Other than that small thing, this doesn't really seem like a bad tour. Well, Mario would not be the only one getting a Tanuki costume. They also brought in Tanuki Rosa. Oh my god. I forgot she looks like this. They did something a bit interesting with her in terms of getting her. You think she would be in the other main pipe, but she was actually in the special pipe, the one with 50 contents instead of 100, with the theme of big ear characters, which I think that's the funniest substitute name for furries. Guys, I promise this gets somewhere important. So that sounds nice, doesn't it? Those who want to get her can have an easier time since she's in the smaller pipe. Well, I think we should read the fine print. This pipe does not feature spotlights. So what does this mean? She is not guaranteed, just one of the handful of drivers you might get. So the only good part of the gacha you're just not gonna use? Are we really doing this? So this was the start of Mario Kart Tour occasionally adding items exclusive to being non-guaranteed pipe items. And this just frustrates me so much. Like the one redeeming quality about the gacha pipes were the spotlight items, where as long as you saved up enough, you would eventually get them, right? But now on occasion, with for instance the gold pumpkin cart, that one redeeming quality is thrown out the window since it isn't a spotlight. So if you reach the very bottom and didn't get it, the game then wants you to reset and reach the bottom again, however many more times. This is just gambling. It was gambling before, but it had safety bumpers at least. But here, now that's just a bottomless pit, this is gambling at its purest state.
Let's go gambling! Aw, dang it! Aw, dang it! Aw, dang it! Aw, dang it!
Game, like, come on. Why are you slowly stripping away the things you're doing right? You're going out of your way to do this. Look, I want to like you, but sometimes you just make it really hard to do that. Look, it's not a big deal in the grand scheme of things, but it still bothers me. They were definitely trying to take advantage of its player base by making items artificially more rare, and I feel pity for anyone who fell for their schemes. Don't look at that. It didn't really help that there was a lot of filler around this time. It seemed like 2021 was pretty slow for this game. Even when there was hype, it was pretty short-lived. Can't imagine what may have been causing that. But little did we know that 2022 was the year where Mario Kart fans ate. To start, Tour was getting back in action once they dropped Singapore's Speedway. And although Los Angeles is a personal favorite of mine, I see this as the best city track. The aesthetics are glorious, of course, but more importantly, the track design is actually varied and super creative. You get launched at this rooftop pool, drive on these conveyor belts around some really vibrant architecture, and there's a Chinatown section with its own music variation. I love it when tracks do that. And get this, try not to pass out from this news, but you don't just drive on the road. You can actually drive on top of some structures. They're finally taking full advantage of the real-world city concept. It honestly doesn't feel like a city track, and that's the best compliment you can give to a city track. It's strange that not even 5 minutes ago I was upset at their treatment with the gacha pipes, and now I'm riding their meat because they made a cool race course, and they actually started to give special pipe spotlights again. And yeah, Mario Kart Tour is just like that. The game's quality really comes in peaks and valleys, because the creativity of the content and the questionable game design decisions are always clashing with each other. Like I said earlier in this review, I just tried to live with the game's mechanics to enjoy the race courses and the new characters when I could obtain them. So when I point out frustrating moments like these, it's not like I'm trying to say everything is ruined, but it's something worth criticizing. Things continue to go strong, retro tracks coming in hot, another celebration on the way, and Charging Chuck makes his debut, which is really cool. All is going well with Mario Kart Tour, but soon, Tour wouldn't be the only Mario Kart game to get all the fun. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is the best-selling game on the Switch, but for some reason it took Nintendo a very long time to realize that they can capitalize off this even more. They would soon host a new Nintendo Direct, the only event where people will scream at a book. But for the one on February 9th, 2022, they decided to awaken all the Mario Kart 8 sleeper agents.
What did you think? Here's some news from Mario Kart fans.
The announcement of the Booster Course Pass. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe was getting DLC, 48 remastered courses throughout the series. Now with game announcements, I get really hyped and all, but it's more on the inside. You won't catch me breaking the sound barrier. Oh my god! Holy shit! It's Mario and Luigi. However, this announcement was enough to unleash the beast. Mario Kart fans, including myself, were really excited for the Booster Course Pass. Now, I won't review the whole thing in this video since that's not what this video is about, but I want to explain how it's relevant to Mario Kart Tour. You probably noticed the DLC being very lenient toward Mario Kart Tour tracks. Every Mario Kart Tour track, excluding one for whatever reason, are in the Booster Course Pass. And the other retro tracks are clearly based on the version in MKT. So why did they do this, other than, being lazy? Remember, Mario Kart Tour is a live service game, so it's not going to always be available. It will eventually shut down along with its content. So the Booster Course Pass in actuality is just an archive for the tour tracks. Because I know y'all would be weeping and sobbing if we couldn't play London Loop ever again. In all seriousness, this was a smart idea, and it's a rare occasion that Nintendo cares about preservation. Although, I admit, it kind of killed the hype for the Booster Course Pass for me. Like, it was advertised as this big celebration of the series, but in actuality it's just a glorified archive project. That's just me though, and I still had a lot of fun with the Booster Course Pass. A handful of tracks I enjoyed even more than the base game, and hey, the more Mario Kart the better. I just think it killed the excitement once we had a good idea of what tracks were going to get added, especially with the leaks that killed any interesting speculation. As 8 Deluxe began its waves of DLC, some big things were coming to Tour as well. A big update was released that increased the max level of items from 7 to 8, which means competitive play will be more difficult. That's nice. But more notably, it added the ability to play as Miis. At long last, I can fulfill the prophecy. In order to play as your Mii, you need to have a Mii suit, which is treated the same way as drivers, having favorite tracks in their own special skill. Small waves of Mii suits would come every tour, until eventually capped at 65 Mii suits. What? Although a handful are just basic colors, the majority are themed after characters or inanimate objects, and I really dig these designs. My favorites are probably the Dolphin, Hammer Bro, and the Pastry Chef suit. The yellow Mii suit is my favorite to play competitively. Giant Banana Squad, where you at? On the other side of the spectrum is shit like the PD Piranha suit and oh my god, the Koopa Clown Car suit. What are these Toy Story ass pajamas? You do not have a friend in me. I don't think we needed 65 Mii suits, but at least it means there's a little something for everyone. So overall, this seems like a harmless addition. But little did we know that Cleveland Brown was going to change the competitive space entirely. Because there are some quirks to the Mii suit that the normal drivers don't have. Every additional Mii suit you get, it increases the base points of all your Mii suits by 10. Which also means the point ceiling increases. So if you collect enough of these suits, your single Mii will greatly overpower all of the drivers you own, because they can't obtain the amount of points your Mii can. Also, for some reason, they made it where the first track of every cup increases the amount of item slots the Mii suits have. Slowly but surely, these suits are going to replace all of these drivers you used on each track, and they'll become less valuable or even obsolete. I used to get excited whenever I had a character that had both a really cool design and was super valuable, but oops, they've been replaced by Hank Hill. So once again, they nerfed one of the few parts I like about Tour, being the new characters, by making them inferior to the Mii suits in pretty much every way. There was clearly a lack of moderation here. They did not think about the long game. If there were like 20 Mii suits and they didn't get as many favorite tracks, things would be more balanced. On the plus side, at least to simplify the overly complicated metagame, you can just get all the Mii suits now and you should do just fine. I didn't get all the Mii suits, because I'm a contrarian. I'm more special than you because I like Paper Mario Color Splash. Due to the Miis, I feel like the competitive aspect of Mario Kart Tour died for me, now that there's just one set solution. So at this point, I was just here to have fun. And fun did I have? We got some pretty neat city tracks like Amsterdam Drift and Bangkok Rush. I don't really care for Amsterdam Drift, I do like the more quiet and peaceful vibe, but the track design doesn't really do anything for me. I especially don't like the underwater canal. Bangkok Rush on the other hand is a banger. cock. It's got a beautiful yellow and orange color scheme and some challenging track design like the spiraling parking lot, the subway, and that one river place with the boats. People watching from Bangkok are very disappointed in me right now. My point being, this is one of the better city tracks in my opinion. Shortly after, we would get a popular character returning from Mario Kart Double Dash, PD Piranha. Not the biggest fan of PD myself, but there are fans of him, so I'm glad they ate well of this. Just a shame that the PD Piranha Mii suit came out at the same time, with the same special item as him, so I assume that the Mii suit did better than the character it's based off of, which, yeah, that kinda sucks. Later that summer, High Sundae would drop in Tour shortly after it did in the Booster Course Pass. It's weird because it was advertised as a brand new track for Mario Kart 8, with this big ass new sticker slapped in the trailer, but if you play the track yourself and just gathered context clues, it was clearly made for Tour. This occurred often during the Booster Course Pass where there would be a new track included in it, only for it to come to Tour a few weeks later. This sparked some real spicy and totally not a waste of energy discourse between fans on whether these are considered as Tour tracks or 8 Deluxe tracks. How I see it, it's both. Yeah, I'm just chill like that. They were released simultaneously on both games, and I don't think it gets deeper than that. Some courses I will say are more leniently designed for one game. Like Merry Mountain Ninja Hideaway, I can clearly tell it was made with Tour in mind, while clearly courses like Yoshi's Island and Squeaky Clean Sprint were more fleshed out in their Mario Kart 8 versions. So yeah, the answer is both. This is the dumbest argument I've ever seen for Mario Kart. And just, while observing discussions when Tour and the Booster Course Pass were relevant, I came to the conclusion that the Mario Kart fanbase is just really annoying. It's pretty much stupid people trying to sound smart. Let's take a look at Booster Course Pass discussions. Let's say you want to see Moonview Highway in the next wave, and you let the internet know that. And then some redditor would be like, actually this isn't going to happen because it's not in the data mines that are totally not subject to change. Why aren't you looking at the data mines? What, you just want things to be a surprise? I guess your predictions will just be wrong then. And then they would make a fool of themselves when the next wave would have the tracks that were not in the data mines. Booster Course Pass discussions were pretty much both sides talking to brick walls, and Tour isn't much better. Mario Kart Tour fans unfortunately suffer from the same thing that fanbases from other heavily criticized media suffer from, which is being really defensive. Not all fans are like this of course, so if you like Tour and you don't act like this, you're chill. But when it comes to the most vocal ones, yeah, they don't really help the game's reputation. If you remotely criticize Mario Kart Tour or the Tour tracks in the DLC, you'd get jumped by kids who frankly shouldn't have access to a keyboard. For some reason, they can't wrap their heads around the fact that this game includes controversial stuff and is very different from the typical Mario Kart, so reasonably lots of people won't like it. But people who don't like what I like are stupid. The Mario Kart fanbase feels like a war between Mario Kart 8 fans and Tour fans. In other words, baby fights. It seems like I'm getting sidetracked, but I did say I want to cover Mario Kart Tour in full, including everything that surrounds it. In the community, at least the most vocal part, it's just really weird. They take this franchise too seriously where Italians drive go-karts through a shopping mall. And a little PSA for any Tour fans watching who do this shit, if you want people to stop hating on your game and want to save this game's image, being publicly defensive and arguing with internet strangers is not the way to do it. I get it. It sucks when I really like something but it gets shit on by a lot of people. But there's no way to change that. You can't change anyone's mind, so you'll just have to agree to disagree. Being a white knight will only hurt the game's reputation further, because then people will associate the game with an encounter with an annoying fanboy. If you like something that's criticized a lot, instead of trying to fight the haters, you should instead express your passion by discussing with other people who like it. There is no good outcome that comes out of arguing with everyone that disagrees with you. Anyways, wasn't I supposed to talk about High Sundae? That track kinda sucks, but White Snooki Mario is based. Moving on. Speaking of sucking, this is a horrible transition. The Bowser Tour was up next, and a few things of note occurred doing this. For one, it added Bowser Castle 3 from Super Circuit. That game had 4 Bowser Castles for some reason, but the third installment was the best and most unique. Instead of the red and orange theming, it had a more blue tone with the stormy sky, and it looks great. And I couldn't wait to see it return since Mario Kart Wii. So let's see how it looks in beautiful iPhone glory. Oh, no, that's the wrong one. That's like Bowser Castle 1 or something, right? Wait. This is Bowser Castle 3? Why does it look like... Oh... Yeah, they just reused the same theming as the previous GBA Bowser Castles. It's disappointing for sure, but also frustratingly lazy because it could not have been that hard to make custom textures. It's whatever. It was like 2 years ago, nobody gives a shit anymore. Something else during the Bowser Tour that should be given shits is a certain announcement from the game. There was a news page announcing a big update coming after the 3rd anniversary tour, where it would finally add battle mode, which is cool. Oh, and gacha pipes were being permanently removed from the game. You know, just casually telling us that one of the game's biggest issues is being addressed. This news was huge. It made it into gaming articles that nobody actually read, they just looked at the headline. It expanded outside of the scope of Mario Kart Tour. I do want to clarify because some people are insistent on telling you that gacha got completely removed because it technically wasn't. The free gacha pipes that you can fire by simply playing the game are staying, but the pipes that cost rubies to fire, which could be purchased with real money, are leaving. And honestly, that's all that was needed. As I've said before, gacha is fine as long as it's not predatory and leaves your wallet alone. Everyone was excited to hear this news. It feels like this game might actually be well received by the public. But if for some reason you were sad the money pipes are gone, I've got just a place for you. I'm proud of these developers doing the right thing. It only took 3 years and a threat from Europe. But before that would happen, we would have to wait until after the 3rd anniversary tour, the last tour with pipes that cost rubies. So this was your last chance to experience the great mental turmoil that these pipes put you through. In fact, this tour had what I consider to be the final boss of gacha. The absolute scummiest of scum you'll ever see in any Mario game. So to celebrate the game's anniversary, they added King Mario with the popular coin box skill to make him wanted for competitive players. In order to get him though, you'll need to pull him out of the special pipe that had 15 Marios in it. If I remember correctly, there were 6 high-end drivers in the pipe, so that's 6 times it will pull one of these Marios. This seems like a really good pipe, especially if you want to collect all the Mario variants. Just one small, teensy-weensy, itty-bitty microscopic issue. King Mario is not a spotlight character. Once again, not guaranteed before emptying the pipe. So, did you want to get this new valuable character that you can assume is going to be very OP? Well, the high-end character odds start at 6 of 50 or 12%, which is good, apparently. But you see, once that star pops up and you're about to get a high-end character, the chances of that being King Mario is 1 in 15, or 6.7%. What the fuck? Okay, I feel like we have to do some further calculations to prove just how bullshit this is. I actually had to flashback to my pre-calculus class for this. Thanks, Mario. In order to calculate the chances of King Mario even being in that pipe, we have to raise the odds of the high-end not being king, which is 0.933, to the power of the amount of high-ends in that pipe, which is 6. And you get 0.51072. Subtract that from 1 to calculate the odds of King Mario being in the pipe, and you get 48.9%. Now you might be like, hey, that's not that bad, it's only a slightly weighted coin flip. Here's the thing, you are not going to know if you lost that coin flip until it's too late. Pulling all 6 of the high ends in this pipe will cost you anywhere from 30 to 250 rubies. In other words, you're spending 30 to 250 rubies to get 6 chances to win a 1 in 15. And if all 6 of those Marios you pulled weren't king, don't worry, because you can just reset the pipe and hope he's there this time. If he's not there, do it again, and again, and again, and again. You can try as many times as you want. You will eventually run out of rubies, but just buy some more. Buy hundreds. Hey, buy thousands. However much it takes to get this royal asshole. This is the absolute worst of this game's gacha I've ever seen. With the usual pipes, they at least have it where you're guaranteed to get the featured character before you hit the bottom. So like, I guess it's fine? And then once they started doing pipes where the new item isn't a spotlight, the odds approach reasonable. But here, King Mario is a needle in a haystack. Once you get him, you're not gonna feel like a king. You're gonna be like, spare change, man. I don't even like him. I don't think most people even do. But people tried to get him anyways because the game is teasing you, being like, ooh, look at this cool character. He's really rare and has that shiny coin dispenser. Try to obtain him among the rest of the Mario multiverse. They're exploiting the hell out of their players, and I am just disgusted at this. You might think I'm over-exaggerating, and I'm just trying to be one of those YouTubers who yell at kids' games or animated movies. But you realize this isn't just something like bad graphics or annoying game mechanics. This is a scam. An actual scam, and children are part of the victims. I'm mad as a player, sure, but also as an aspiring game designer, and it frustrates me whenever games are designed with clear ill intent. Do not underestimate the gacha vortex. It's inherently addicting, and before you know it, you'll spend away more money than you ever wanted to. This is hard evidence that criticism regarding Tour's practices are absolutely valid. This is something I can't let slide like I did with the pricey microtransactions or the quote-unquote normal gacha pipes. You just cannot do this. It's absolutely disgusting. For me, this has done permanent damage to my perception of this game, and it is now on thin ice. The ruby pipes may have left after this, but man, did it go out in flames. Right off the bat, we have a lot to talk about for the 4th year, considering the massive changes being made. Let's first get into the removal of the gacha pipes. Again, only the pipes that costed rubies are being removed, because rubies could be bought with money. Now there are pipes that are gifted to players when doing well in races, where you can get a random item in a pool of drivers, carts, and gliders. Progression is still quite RNG based because of this, but they're handing these out to you. All that matters is that your wallet is closed. So if the main pipes are gone, where will you be getting the featured drivers, carts, and gliders now? May I introduce the Spotlight Shop. Here, Spotlight drivers, carts, and gliders can be bought with a fixed amount of rubies. Huh. I'm shocked that this, actually works. Players should use their hard-earned resources to directly purchase items, not gamble for them. Utterly brilliant. Sarcasm aside, this is the best alternative to the pipes without changing too much of how the game works. But the other part of the Spotlight Shop is something I'm a bit iffy about. There's also the daily spotlights that feature a select few drivers, carts, and gliders that aren't in the spotlight but still present in ranked. And the items listed are reshuffled every day, with some items having higher or lower odds to show up. That sounds like RNG. Are you guys also getting chills? And you can use these quick tickets to reshuffle the daily spotlights instead of having to wait. Oh, this is just gacha again. You're using resources to have random items show up, hoping it's what you wanted. Now granted, it's not nearly as aggressive, and quick tickets can't be bought with money, but part of the problem was that RNG played a massive role in building an inventory, and now it still does. If you want a specific item within the daily spotlight selection, you just have to hope it's there when you wake up the next day. So when people say that this game doesn't have gacha anymore, that's technically not true. They just read a gaming article headline, I guess. And speaking of which, I know this is off topic, but I just really want to share this. If this is true, that's funny as fuck. This means there still isn't natural progression to unlocking parts. The prices for these items don't help the progression either. A driver will cost 150 rubies while carts and gliders cost 100. Now the weekly spotlight items are at a slight discount, but only those select few. If you're free to play, you can buy maybe one thing every tour. So the system is still heavily pay to win, which if we look back at those prices, the $70 option isn't even worth one character in the daily spotlight. Some things never change, I guess. If it were up to me, I would make a driver's base price be 100 and carts and gliders be 75. Grievances aside, this is still a massive improvement. The fact that if you see the item in the shop, you can just get it now is a relief. I just wish the new system would be good instead of not as bad. So if you want to return to this game, know that it's still pay to win and RNG still plays a big role, just, not as bad. The other thing that was added with the new year is the glorious return of battle mode. It sucks. Sorry to spoil it out the gate, but this was never meant for tour. The rules play like your typical balloon battle. Pop your opponent's balloons and beat the last person with balloons to spare. A positive I will give to this battle mode is that it's elimination based instead of in a deluxe where the match just ends after a timer. But you know what's integral in order for battle mode to work? Free control. The goal isn't to just loop around a linear racetrack. The battle stages are designed for players to find places to duke it out with other people. In battle mode, you need to put a lot more thought into your driving. You can chase after certain players, hide from other players if you're low on balloons, or you could even camp at an item box set to get a good item. The point is that you go at your own pace. And tell me how that works in a game where you automatically go forward. You can't pull the brakes, and trying to turn your character the other way is like a penny going down in one of those machines you see in Walmart. You can imagine that trying to hunt down other players while everyone is constantly moving at the same speed is extremely annoying. Oh, and there's only 5 arenas: Battle Course 1, Cookie Land, Twilight Town, and 2 that just use portions of the city tracks. They must have looked at the battle mode from the Wii U version of Mario Kart 8 and were like, oh my god, it's beautiful. To be fair, if I was actively working on a Mario Kart mobile game for 3 years, I'd stop giving a shit too. They're checked out like I am writing this 30-page long script, I get it. Battle mode just sucks. I don't know how they were able to make it worse than Mario Kart 8. Other than those 2 things, there really isn't that much to talk about for this year. The pipes were the spiciest thing to talk about, so now that they're gone, we don't really have much to work with. However, this year was overwhelming when it came to the content. We got a fair amount of carts and gliders, new characters were slowing down, but Oh man, there were so many tracks added. A good chunk of them are brand new. Starting with Piranha Plant Cove, most of you may recognize this from the Booster Course Pass. I think it's solid, love the aesthetic, but I don't really think it needed to be segmented. In Tour, there is a Piranha Plant Cove 1, 2, and 3, each having a different route. I think that's a bit unnecessary considering the individual routes are a bit lackluster. When they're put together like in 8 Deluxe, the track actually feels complete. Later that spring, we would see Yoshi's Island, my favorite new Booster Course Pass track. I'm not even a fan of the Yoshi's Island series, but I'm still charmed by this. Love how the map is based off the title screen and it has a unique ending theme. It's fine in Tour, but there were a few things absent that were in the 8 Deluxe version, being the Yoshi-themed coins, and the cloud that creates the bridge is frozen in place instead of moving around, removing the most investing part of the track. This was clearly made specifically for 8 Deluxe and then put it in Tour because they had to. The same can be said for Squeaky Clean Sprint. It's still fun in Tour, but 8 Deluxe has the upper hand here as well. Somehow creates a really fun track out of a bathroom, using different shelves as different paths, going down the bathtub drain and swimming through the pipes. It's really neat. Fun track with a fun idea. I'm still deciding if I like this or Ribbon Road better, given that they have a similar premise. And then there's Piranha Plant Pipeline, the only Tour track not on the Booster Course Pass. This track might be gone forever, assuming it doesn't come to the next Mario Kart. Not that you'd be missing much, because it feels like a lesser version of Piranha Plant Slide. I do like the music better than Slide though, and it's fun having to ride through all the tubes. Although it struggles to have its own identity, I do think it should return in the next Mario Kart game because it's really fun. Moving on to the new city tracks, starting with Athens Dash. This one stands out in a good way because rather than being 80% city streets, it emphasizes the ruins of Athens, leading to much more exciting gameplay while perfectly demonstrating the culture of the city it's based on. It also shows that you can still make a great race course out of a premise as restricting as real-world location. I know not every city has ruins, but they still have other unique set pieces that are either underutilized or not utilized at all. And speaking of which, Rome Avanti. Cool name. The track is not. It's boring. We're going down a bunch of roads again, looking at buildings instead of driving on them. No innovation going on here. The Colosseum is cool, but that makes up like 5% of the track. Would be my least favorite city track, but Tokyo doesn't have a Colosseum, or anything at all. Madrid Drive, on the other hand, is a stupid name, but a really good course. Love the football stadium with the shoe goombas, or Shumbas as I'd like to call them, kicking around the footballs. I would fly all the way to Madrid to watch this game. The museum is also neat, albeit a bit short-lived. My favorite part about this track has to be the music. It's already catchy, but it has alternate versions for both the stadium and the museum. Once again, love it when they do that. And that's actually the final city track, leaving 14 in total. Final thoughts on the cities? I think the premise is a double-edged sword. On one hand, the fact that they're based on recognizable locations gives them lots of appeal. But being based on a real location comes with a lot of restrictions, having to keep it accurate to the source and has to be more realistic than the usual Mario Kart track. And the fact that all of them have the city aesthetic makes them all feel too similar. If it weren't for Tour creating tracks of original concepts, the game's lineup for new tracks would be pretty mediocre. Anyways, in case you're curious, here's my rankings of all the city tracks. So that's a lot of tracks we just went over, but buddy, that's but a morsel of the tracks that came out that year. To demonstrate, here's a full list of every other track that came out to Tour in this year alone. Oh shit, here we go. A remixed version of Donut Plains, Boo Lake, DK Mountain, Riverside Park, Peach Gardens, Snowland, Wee Rainbow Road, which sucks ass now because it's only one lap long and the road is really ugly, Shroom Ridge, DS Mario Circuit, Dry Dry Ruins, Yoshi Desert, SNES Bowser's Castle 3, GBA Bowser Castle 4, a really cool remake but didn't come to the Booster Course Pass so it will be lost in the sands of time, Mushroom Bridge, Daisy Circuit, Peach Circuit, Mario Raceway, GBA Luigi Circuit, Waluigi Stadium, Moonview Highway, Lakeside Park, and the remixed version of Vanilla Lake. Jesus. So do you want to know the total amount of courses in Mario Kart Tour? Approximately 136. And that doesn't include each of the track's reverse and trick variations. Yeah, I was not kidding when I said this is the Smash Ultimate of Mario Kart. At the time, this was just overwhelming. It was becoming really difficult to make sure I'm covered with favorite items on every track now that they were coming out so fast. I didn't understand why they couldn't just slow down, like what's the rush? Oh. On September 10th of 2023, Nintendo announced that after the 4th anniversary tour, they will no longer be adding additional content to the game. The last bits of content would be added to that tour. This news was very devastating for people with sunk cost fallacy. Truly, there was not a more tragic day than September 10th. To me, this felt a bit surreal because this game has been a part of a good chunk of my life. I first played MKT when it launched during my freshman year of high school, and they dropped this announcement once I started college. I've been playing this game throughout the biggest events of my life, like the lockdown from the cringe virus and high school graduation, so I admit this game has a bit of sentimental value to me. So I can't fully commit to the haha rest in hell bit, because as I've shown throughout these videos, there were actually some great moments, dare I say some highlights of Mario Kart history, but I have to ask, why now? Only a year after fixing one of the game's most controversial parts? You just want to stop? It felt like things were just getting started with this new era, and if they addressed the microtransactions by either lowering the costs or making the resources received more justified, we actually could have had one of the most tolerable modern mobile games. As it is now, it's decent, at least a lot better than it was 4 years ago, but there was a lot of room for improvement and had plenty of time to do so. Even though I'm confused with their decision, I also kind of understand. I don't know how small the team behind Tour is, but I can't imagine it being as big as the ones behind the console games. So if you're tasked with adding new content every 2 weeks for 4 years, then holy shit, you need to rest. At the end of the day, there's human beings working on this, so understand that this game can't be worked on forever. I suppose we should take a look at the final unique tour for old time's sake, the 4th anniversary tour. It was fine. They brought back King Mario and put him in the spotlight shop, which was simultaneously forgiving for those who missed out on him, and insulting for those who gambled hundreds for him. The last character was fittingly Gold Mario, and I'd say he's a bigger deal than King Mario because he has his own unique ability called Coin Vacuum. If Gold Mario is close enough, coins will just come to him, and that's obviously busted. So you might be asking what's the absolute horseshit way the game has players unlock him. Actually, he's just a reward for the rank up. This was a smart decision because unlocking this super OP character would be an actual challenge and not a challenge in quotation marks. Gold Mario is really cool, but everything else about this tour is nothing special. It was just another handful of city tracks. And so that was the final unique tour of Mario Kart Tour. So if Mario Kart Tour was gonna stop getting new content, then what was the game like during the 5th year, which is right now? Well, they're just repeating last year, like verbatim. Yeah, this killed pretty much all my motivation to play. I only came back to this game to see the new stuff, but now when I open up this game, I'll be questioning if I have dementia. So I stopped playing this game once the content was looping, only returning every now and then just to get characters that were on my bucket list. Which is a valid reason why you would still play this game even when there's nothing new. It means now you can actually catch up and complete your inventory without constantly lagging behind. That sounds fun and all, but I don't have the patience for that. So yeah, although the game isn't actually dead, it really feels like it wants to be put out of its misery. A good amount of players stopped playing it, the developers don't want to keep making it. In a sense, MKT is at its end. But you know the best part about no more new content to talk about? It means that the video is almost over. But don't leave, because I have some important stuff to say still. After going over everything inside and out of Mario Kart Tour from the past 4 years, I think I've made a solid verdict on this game. Is Mario Kart Tour a good game? Some of you might be disappointed to hear this, but I don't think it is. Now, judging by its more artistically driven aspects, it's really good. It showcases the series' most creative ideas, but this is not just a thing to admire. This is a game that you play. And as a game, Mario Kart Tour is fundamentally flawed, ethically gray, and has unnecessary complications. Of course, I enjoyed this game because it's not all bad. A bad game can have stuff you really like, just as much as a game you love has parts you absolutely cannot stand. But in Tour's case, that's because I went out of my way to not engage with parts of the game by creating my own do's and don'ts. And what does it say that in order for me to like this game, I had to play it in a specific way? Games should be enjoyable no matter how you choose to play it. I know other players have their own way of having fun with Tour, but in the case where that involves spending a lot of money, I can't say they'll be looking back at their financial decisions fondly. So, in short, if you asked me if I liked Mario Kart Tour, I would say yes. but if you asked me if Mario Kart Tour is a good game, I would say no. I chose Mario Kart Tour of all games to make a lengthy analysis of, not just because I'm a Mario Kart fan, but because this game is a really interesting case study. It's an important example on how you shouldn't go about designing a game. You can provide all of these amazing settings and intuitive world building in your game, but if the game is designed poorly, it devalues all of that. At the end of the day, you are making a game, and if it's littered with logical and ethical flaws, it devalues all of its artistic liberties. The design always has to come before the concepts. It's a shame because Mario Kart Tour could have been exceptional. Nintendo for the most part doesn't tremendously fuck up when it comes to publishing games. Other studios are obsessed with being anti-consumer, like how Ubisoft wants players to not own the games they bought and everything needs to be accessed with a subscription or some shit. Nintendo, however, publishes the game, we buy the game, we own the game, and what a coincidence, the game isn't dog shit. Not trying to ride their meat or imply that they're a perfect company, just giving credit where credit is due. If Nintendo can be a positive image in the console space, they could do the same to the mobile space, which is struggling just as much. But instead it just embraced the current culture of mobile games by trying to get as much money out of the player as possible. Well, at least it doesn't have extremely out-of-pocket ads.
This is the last one, chat. Pee in his mouth.
What do you mean pee in his mouth? What do you mean pee in his mouth?
They did these tour showcases with Alakatu, who was voice acted and everything, and it was actually kind of wholesome. So this game is safe from the weird advertisements. Is what I would say, but I discovered guava juice. If you're on the fence, I can't really recommend it to you because it depends on your tolerance for the icky stuff. But I really want to mention that I'm not trying to say you shouldn't play or like this game. It's totally reasonable if you do. If you don't mind the gacha or microtransactions and solely focus on the game's many courses, character costumes, or intriguing competitive play, more power to you. Just know that it's also reasonable for those things to prevent people from enjoying the good stuff. It's healthy to like something while also keeping an open mind and accepting that not everyone does. Both love and hate for this game is valid. There's nothing wrong with having opinions, but there is something wrong with attacking people for having their opinions. I'm only bringing this up because this game is pretty controversial and has its passionate fanboys and haters, so I want none of that energy in my comments, please and thank you. I promise you will live a happy life if a stranger on the internet does not like the same thing you do. After Mario Kart Tour and the Booster Course Pass, I'm ready to move on from those emotional roller coasters to Mario Kart 9. Well, Tour is Mario Kart 9, apparently. This is also another big discussion on this game on whether or not it's considered Mario Kart 9, and like if it was, who gives a shit? When I say Mario Kart 9, I just mean the next traditional game. I hope it won't actually be called Mario Kart 9, or 10, or X. Don't call it X. Like, I get it, Roman numerals and shit, but please, don't call it X. Regardless, I'm feeling optimistic for the future of the series, to hopefully go back to tradition while adding an exciting new gimmick. Whatever awaits for the next game, breathe easy knowing it won't offer Diddy Kong for $40.
What the fuck? They're gay?